Hey there, night dwellers. Welcome back to Nightmare Frequency. Before we descend into tonight's chilling tale, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below letting us know where you're watching from and what time it is in your corner of the world. Now, dim the lights, get cozy, and prepare yourself for another journey into the unknown.
Most of the stories were predictable, urban legends repackaged, ghost stories with obvious punchlines. But she found herself halfway through a post that didn't feel like the others. It wasn't trying too hard, it wasn't dramatic, it felt real. Too real. It was written by someone who went by the username Sleep No More 1987. The story began like this. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to believe in this stuff, but something happened to me that I can't explain. I'm not writing this for attention. I just want to warn people, if you ever hear tapping at your window after midnight, don't look, don't respond. Just pretend you're asleep, and whatever you do, don't open the curtains. Jenna smirked. Classic. But the further she read, the more she felt something tighten in her chest. It started when I moved into my new place. Third floor apartment, corner unit, perfect view of the woods behind the building. One night I heard it, tap, tap, tap. Very gentle, like someone dragging a finger across the glass. I thought maybe it was the wind or a bird. But then it happened again the next night, and the next. Always after midnight, always the same rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. She stopped scrolling. Her room had gone colder. The kind of cold that doesn't come from open windows or faulty heating, but from something else. Something watching. She pulled the covers up to her chin and kept reading. I made the mistake of looking once. Just once. I wish to God I hadn't. I only caught a glimpse. Pale face, eyes too wide, no lips. Just a smooth stretch of skin. But it was grinning. Not with its mouth, because it didn't have one, but with its eyes. Like it knew I could see it. Jenna's phone buzzed. She flinched. A text from unknown number. Do you hear it too? She stared, heart slamming. Was this part of the story? Some weird arg? The text buzzed again. Don't look out the window. The phone fell from her hand and landed on the floor. Jenna's blood turned to ice. Tap, tap, tap. Her breath hitched. She froze. The tapping was coming from her window. She lived on the second floor. No balcony. No fire escape. The tree outside didn't reach that far. It was impossible. Tap, tap, tap. Slow, rhythmic, deliberate. She slid out of bed and backed away from the window. Her phone was still on the floor, but she didn't dare move to grab it. The tapping stopped. Silence. She stood there, heart pounding in her throat. And then the curtains shifted. Not from the wind. They moved, like fingers brushing them aside. Jenna ran, straight out of her room, down the hallway and into the living room. She flipped every light on. Sat on the couch, curling up like a child. Her roommate, April, wasn't home, gone for the weekend. She grabbed her laptop and went back to the Reddit thread. The post from Sleep No More 1987 was gone, deleted, no trace, like it had never existed. But her phone buzzed again, from the same unknown number. You saw it. Her fingers trembled as she typed back, Who are you? No reply. She blocked the number, turned off the phone. The rest of the night was quiet, but she didn't sleep. The next morning, she tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe the post was a prank, sleep deprivation, mass hysteria. All of it could be explained. Until she saw the prints. Outside her bedroom window, smudged against the glass, were long, thin streaks, like fingertips dragged downward. But they were too high, too far across, as if someone had hung upside down outside her window and traced them from above. She scrubbed the window clean, didn't tell April. But every night after that, the tapping returned, always at 2 a.m. She stopped sleeping in her room, started crashing on the couch, bought blackout curtains and covered every window, played white noise, prayed. One night, about a week later, April came home late. Jenna was passed out on the couch. April woke her, panicked. Hey, what the hell happened to your door? Jenna rubbed her eyes. What? April led her back to the bedroom. The door was covered in deep scratches, as if someone had clawed at it, desperately trying to get in. Not the frame, not the knob, the center of the door. Eye level. What the hell kind of animal did this? April whispered. Jenna didn't answer, because she remembered. Her door had been locked that night. She'd heard it again, the tapping, and then something walking slowly in the hallway, bare feet, one dragging slightly behind. She hadn't imagined it. That night, they slept in the same room, door locked, heavy dresser pushed in front of it, but still at 2 a.m. sharp. Tap, 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 tap. This time it wasn't from the window, it was from the closet. April woke up first, sat bolt upright. Jenna could see her eyes wide with fear. "Did you hear that?" April whispered. Jenna nodded slowly. Tap, tap, tap. 3 soft taps from inside the closet, like someone knocking from within. April got up against Jenna's desperate protests and opened the door, empty, except for a single object on the floor, Jenna's phone, the one she had turned off and left in the living room days ago. She picked it up, the screen flickered to life. A new message, from unknown number. Too late. They left that night. Drove to a motel 2 towns over. Jenna couldn't take her eyes off the mirrors, any reflective surface. The tapping hadn't followed them. Not yet. But something else had changed. Jenna stopped dreaming. Not like she forgot her dreams. She couldn't dream anymore. Every night she would close her eyes and hours would vanish. No sense of time passing. No sensation. Just black. A complete void. She started seeing things out of the corner of her eye. Figures that vanished when she turned. Faces in reflections that didn't match her own. April began sleepwalking. Jenna would wake to find her standing at the door, eyes wide, whispering things she couldn't understand. She started recording the nights, setting up her laptop to film while they slept. One morning, she found April gone. Not in the bed, not in the bathroom. The door was open. Jenna checked the footage. At 1:58 a.m., April sat up, eyes still closed. She stood, walked to the door, paused. Then she turned to the camera and smiled. It wasn't April's smile. It was too wide, too perfect, too still. She mouthed something. Jenna played it back, slowed it down, read the words over and over. "Do you hear it too?" The same message. She called the police. They searched the woods behind the motel. Found nothing. Jenna moved in with her brother 2 states away, got rid of her phone, deleted all social media, changed her name, and for a while it stopped. Until last night. She woke up and checked her brother's phone for the time. A new message sat on his lock screen from unknown number. "Just pretend you're asleep." And then the tapping started again. Jenna finished reading the post. Her skin was cold. She sat there, breath shallow. Then her phone buzzed one final time. "Behind you." Her blood turned to ice. She didn't move and breathe. The lights flickered just once. And then, faintly, tap, tap, tap. But not from the window. From her closet. She didn't have blackout curtains anymore. She'd moved, changed her life. No one had her number. She reached for her phone with trembling fingers, called April. It rang and rang. Then someone answered, but it wasn't April. Just breathing, and then a whisper. "You saw it. Now it sees you." The line went dead. Jenna dropped the phone and stood, backing toward the door. The closet creaked open. She ran. Didn't stop running until dawn. She stayed in a 24-hour diner, eyes on the windows, ears perked for that tapping. And somewhere out there, someone new was reading the thread, thinking it was just a story, another spooky bedtime tale. But it wasn't. It never was. And when they hear it tonight, when they really hear it for the first time, they'll understand. They'll wish they had listened. They'll wish they had pretended to be asleep.
Story number 2.
It was an hour past sunset when Nathan arrived at the house. He had driven 4 hours into the wooded edges of northern Maine, where GPS signal faded and the trees leaned too close to the road. The place was a 2-story cabin built in the 50s, now gutted and abandoned, except it wasn't, not really. Because inside lived his uncle Frank. Frank had been missing for 12 years. The call came 2 nights ago. Unknown number. Nathan almost didn't answer. The voice was rough, static, warped. "Nathan, it's Frank. I need you to come get me before she does." The line went dead. Nathan's mother wept when he told her. She had given up on her brother a decade ago. "Don't go," she begged. "That's not Frank. Frank's dead." But Nathan had to know. He found the house half swallowed by the forest, the porch caved in, the door hanging by a hinge. The windows were smeared with grime from the inside, except one. The top right window glowed faintly. He knocked. No answer. He stepped inside. The smell hit him first. Mold, rot, something sweet and wrong underneath it all. The air was dense, warm like breath. The floor creaked with every step. The interior looked untouched since the 90s. Dust-coated furniture. A torn recliner in front of a dead fireplace. But in the center of the room sat a table, and on it, a tape recorder. A sticky note was taped to the top. Play me. Nathan hesitated, then pressed play. Static crackled, then Frank's voice, shaky, hoarse. If you're hearing this, I'm already gone. But I wasn't crazy, Nathan. I saw her. I let her in. That's the mistake. She doesn't live here. She waits here. And once you see her, once you know she's real, it's too late. A pause. You have to play the game. Nathan frowned. Game? The tape continued. There's a door upstairs, the one with the red thread wrapped around the handle. That's where she comes out, at night. Every night. You can't stop her, but you can delay her, if you follow the rules. Click. The tape ended. Nathan stood still, heartbeat pounding in his ears. What rules? He found them written on the wall in smeared chalk, above the staircase. Rules to delay her. 1. She wakes at 3 a.m. You must not be asleep. 2. If you hear the humming, do not open your eyes. 3. If she knocks, knock back, only once. 4. Do not look directly at her face. 5. She will ask for your name. Don't say it. 6. If you survive until dawn, she resets. His eyes followed the staircase upward. At the top, just visible in the gloom, was a single door, red thread wrapped tight around the handle. He should have left. Every instinct screamed at him to leave. But something held him there, some mix of dread and loyalty and guilt. He stayed, set up his phone to record, pushed a chair in front of the fireplace, kept every light on. At 2:45 a.m., the lights flickered. By 2:59, they died completely. Silence. And then, low, crooning. A child's lullaby, sung out of key. Nathan clenched his eyes shut. Closer. On the stairs. He didn't move. Didn't breathe. The hum stopped. Knock. Soft. At the living room wall. Nathan knocked once. Silence again. His chest was tight, lungs begging for air. Then, a whisper, right behind his ear. Can you see me? He didn't answer. The voice giggled. A wet, rasping sound. I see you. Something scraped across the floor. Her feet, hands, he couldn't tell. His stomach twisted. A long, slow sniff. Tell me your name. Nathan bit his tongue until he tasted blood. Your name. Silence. She moved away. The boards creaked. He could hear her crawling, up the walls, maybe the ceiling. The air shifted, got colder, and then a whisper through the chimney. I'll wear your skin tomorrow. The hum faded, and the sun rose. Nathan didn't sleep for 3 more days. Every night, the same ritual, the same rules. Until the 4th night. He made one mistake. He opened his eyes, just for a second. She was crouched on the ceiling, head cocked unnaturally to one side, mouth stretching from ear to ear, no teeth, just black gums and a dark void. Her eyes were empty sockets. Her fingers ended in too many joints. Her skin didn't fit. It sagged, wet, and twitched. She smiled when she saw him looking. She dropped from the ceiling without a sound. Nathan screamed. The recorder clicked on by itself. Frank's voice. She only needs one thing to enter you, a name. She was inches from Nathan now. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Her lips didn't move, but her voice was inside his head. Tell me your name. Nathan closed his eyes, but it was too late. His phone buzzed. A message popped up on the lock screen from unknown number. Nathan, we're coming. It wasn't just her anymore. There were others. Faces in the walls, in the mirrors, watching. Nathan doesn't speak now. He just sits in the corner of that old cabin, whispering rules to himself over and over while his eyes bleed. People say the house is cursed. Some say they still see the lights on late at night. If you knock on the door, sometimes it opens. And if you go upstairs, you'll find a door with red thread around the handle. Don't open it. And whatever you do, don't say your name.
Story number 3.
The storm had rolled in fast that night. Thick clouds swallowing the moon, thunder grumbling like a warning from the heavens. Sarah drove carefully along the winding mountain road, eyes flicking between the windshield and her GPS, which had frozen 5 minutes ago. She hadn't meant to be out this late. A solo hiking trip to clear her mind had turned into a frantic rush to get back before dark. She'd taken a wrong trail, lost daylight, and now her car was the only thing moving through miles of forested nowhere. Then her headlights caught it. A figure standing on the side of the road, drenched, pale, motionless. Sarah hit the brakes hard. The tires skidded on the wet gravel. The figure didn't move. A woman, wearing a long white dress soaked through with rain. Her hair hung in thick black strands over her face, barefoot, shivering. Sarah lowered her window a crack. Do you need help? No response. The woman raised her head slightly. Sarah saw only a hint of a face, white skin, dark eyes that seemed to swallow light. Where are you going? Sarah asked, uneasy. Finally, the woman spoke, in a voice that was barely human. Home. Sarah hesitated. Where's home? The woman looked past her into the woods. Sarah didn't want to offer a ride. Every alarm in her body screamed against it, but something stronger, something colder, made her unlock the door. "Get in," she said quietly. The woman did. She didn't speak again, didn't blink, just sat there in the passenger seat, soaked and silent, her hands folded neatly in her lap. Sarah's knuckles whitened around the steering wheel. She glanced over once. The woman was staring at her now, not blinking, just staring. "Are you okay?" Sarah asked. Silence. Then slowly the woman smiled. Her lips peeled back too far, too wide, and she whispered, "You've seen it too, haven't you?" Sarah's foot lifted off the gas. "What?" "The tree," the woman said. "It saw you first. That's why it let you leave." Sarah's blood ran cold. There had been a tree. A twisted, enormous thing deep in the forest. She had passed it on the hike. At first, she thought it was a sculpture, its trunk full of holes like mouths, its bark cracked like burned flesh. Something about it made her walk faster, not look back. "You touched it," the woman hissed, her smile gone. "Didn't you?" Sarah didn't answer. The woman leaned closer. "You should not have touched it." Sarah slammed on the brakes. The woman vanished. No door opening, no movement, just gone. The seat beside her was dry, no imprint, no trace. Sarah's chest heaved. Rain pounded the windshield. The storm roared outside. She hit the gas. Just make it home. She didn't stop. Not for anything. Not until she reached her apartment hours later, parked crooked in her driveway, ran inside and locked the door. And then she saw it. On her living room wall. A handprint. Long fingers, thin, black as ash, smudged into the drywall. She scrubbed it clean, slept with the lights on. The next morning she found more. In the hallway, on the ceiling, on the mirror. Always that same hand, always reaching. She called her sister, her therapist, a priest. No one could help. No one believed her. The third night, she heard it. From outside her window. Scrape, scrape, scrape. She looked down. It was the tree. Somehow it had moved. Its trunk stretched up from her backyard, its roots curling over the grass like claws, the same holes in the bark, the same burned black surface, the same smile in the knots of its wood. It was staring up at her. The mouths in the bark began to open. Not all at once, one at a time. Some whispered. Some laughed. Some screamed. She moved out that night, stayed with friends, then friends started having nightmares, seeing the tree outside their windows. One by one, they stopped answering her calls, disappeared, or worse, changed. Their eyes went black. Their voices echoed. One of them, Erin, showed up at her door one night, soaking wet, dress clinging to her skin. "Let me in," Erin had said. "I'm cold." Sarah locked the door and didn't sleep that night. She went back to the mountain a week later, desperate to find the trail again, to find the cursed thing and destroy it. She found the tree, or something like it. It had grown, now its trunk was wider than a truck. Dozens of human faces stretched out of the bark, mouths open in silent screams. One of them was Erin. One was Sarah's therapist, and one was herself. Sarah turned and ran, but the forest had changed. The trees had faces. The wind whispered her name in voices not her own. She never made it back down the mountain. Weeks later, her car was found abandoned by the roadside. Driver's side door wide open, keys still in the ignition. No trace of Sarah, only a smear of handprints on the windshield. And in the forest, if you walk far enough, deep enough, past where the trail ends, past where the birds go silent, you'll find a tree with holes like mouths. If you listen, it will speak to you. And if you touch it, it will remember you. It always remembers, and it always wants more.
Story number 4.
The apartment was too cheap. That was the first red flag. A one-bedroom in the heart of the city for only $600 a month? That didn't happen. Not unless there was something wrong. But Jacob didn't care. After the breakup, the job loss, and moving 3 times in 6 months, he would have lived in a cardboard box if it had a toilet and a roof. The landlord was a quiet man, mid-60s, who never smiled and wouldn't meet Jacob's eyes. Just handed over the keys and said 2 words, "Don't knock." Jacob blinked. "What?" The man licked his dry lips and repeated it, slower this time. "Don't knock." Then he turned and walked away. The apartment was surprisingly clean. High ceilings, hardwood floors, a window view of the skyline. The neighbors were quiet. He barely heard a thing, even at night. For the first few days, things were normal. Then he started to hear the knocking. It came from the other side of his bedroom wall. Always after midnight. Always slow. Knock, knock, knock. 3 times. Then silence. The wall it came from had no door, no window, just drywall. He banged back the first time, annoyed. Nothing happened. The second night, it happened again. Knock, knock, knock. Jacob pressed his ear to the wall. Nothing. No voices, no movement. He texted the landlord. Hey, is there another apartment on the other side of my bedroom wall? No reply. The knocking came every night, sometimes at 1:03 a.m., sometimes at 3:33 a.m., but never more than 3 knocks, always spaced evenly, always from the same spot. He started sleeping on the couch, until the knocking followed him. Knock, 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 from the wall behind the couch. Jacob began recording it, but every time he checked the footage, there was no sound, no knocks, just him, staring wide-eyed into the dark. On the 7th night, the knocks changed. They got faster, more urgent. Knock, knock, and then the wall cracked, a hairline fracture running from the floor to the ceiling. Jacob stared at it, frozen, and from the other side, he heard breathing, wet, ragged, inhuman breathing. He moved out the next morning, didn't care about the deposit, didn't even tell the landlord, just packed what he could fit in his car and drove. He thought it was over, until he checked into a cheap motel and fell asleep that night, and woke up to knocking. Knock, knock, knock. From the mirror, he backed away, shaking. The knocks came again. Knock, knock, knock. Then the glass cracked, a thin, perfect fracture, and from the other side, something smiled at him. No eyes, no skin, just a stretched mouth made of shadow and teeth. He screamed and ran, drove across the state, slept in his car, didn't matter. The knocking followed him. He tried sleeping in the woods, in churches, in other people's houses. It always found him, always waited until he closed his eyes. Then, knock, knock, knock. Always 3, never 4, never 2. He saw a psychiatrist. They put him on meds. He tried exorcists, therapists, paranormal forums. No one could help. Then he got the email. We see you. No address, no name. Attached was a photo of him, sleeping, taken from the inside of a closet. Jacob went silent after that. Quit talking, quit leaving his motel room until the night he disappeared. The maid found the door wide open, lights on, phone buzzing. On the mirror in thick red smears were the words, "You knocked back." No trace of Jacob was ever found. Just one thing left behind, his phone. When police checked the last recording, they found only one video, 47 seconds long. A shaky shot of a mirror, a voice whispering on repeat, "Don't knock, don't knock, don't knock." And in the last second of footage, the mirror cracked and something reached out.
Story number 5.
Every night at exactly 2:17 a.m., Mia would wake up to it. A small metallic click echoing through her one-bedroom apartment like the sound of a door unlocking. She'd lie frozen in bed, breath caught in her throat, listening to the silence that followed. It wasn't the front door. She checked the first night. Still locked, still chained, still bolted. But the click kept happening. Second night, third night, always 2:17, always the same sound, and always followed by that sense someone else was in the room. Mia had lived alone for nearly 3 years. She liked it that way. She was a night owl, a painter, and kept odd hours. But after the 4th night of the clicking, she started sleeping with the lights on. By the 5th, she bought a camera. Just a cheap one, motion activated. She placed it on her desk facing the bedroom. If there was someone coming in, she'd know. That night she went to sleep at midnight, woke up at 2:17 a.m., click. Heart pounding, she sat up, listening. No movement, no voices. She stayed still until morning, then reviewed the footage. There was nothing for hours, until 2:17. The camera triggered. The video stuttered, and for a split second, half a frame, something moved in the corner. Too fast to see clearly. She paused the footage, went frame by frame. There, in the corner just beside her closet door, a figure, tall, slender, wrapped in dark cloth like a funeral shroud. No face, just blackness where the eyes should be. It stood there, watching her sleep. Mia screamed, yanked the camera off the desk, and threw it into the hallway. She called the police. They searched the apartment. Nothing. No signs of a break-in. No footprints. No physical evidence. "Probably a bug with your camera," the officer said. "You sure you're not just dreaming this?" She wasn't. She didn't sleep that night. The next day, she visited her neighbor, Mrs. Adler, an elderly woman who had lived in the building for 40 years. Always kept to herself. Always watching. "Your unit?" Mrs. Adler said, sipping tea. "That used to be apartment 3B, didn't it?" Mia nodded. The old woman's face went pale. "Don't sleep with the closet open," she whispered. Mia blinked. "What?" Mrs. Adler leaned closer, voice barely audible. "He comes through closets. Always has. That's why they sealed that one." "What do you mean, sealed?" Mrs. Adler just shook her head. Don't open it. That night, Mia inspected the closet. It had looked normal. She kept coats and storage boxes in it. But now, she noticed something odd. The frame of the door had been nailed shut at one point. Long, rusted marks along the wood, splinters where boards had once been. Someone had sealed it before. She pulled everything out, dragged a chair in front of the closet, and sat, waited. At 2:16 a.m., the room went cold. At 2:07, but this time, it came from the closet door. She stood, hands trembling, pressed her ear to the wood. Nothing. Then, scrape. Like fingernails sliding along the inside, she ran, left the apartment, slept in her car, didn't come back until sunrise. When she opened her closet the next day, there was a note inside, on yellowed paper, torn edges, written in jagged pencil. Let me out. She burned it, told herself she was imagining things, but the click still came, every night, sometimes followed by scratching, sometimes by soft, whispering laughter. 2 nights later, Mia invited a friend, Jules, to stay over, someone to prove it to. They sat in the living room all night, recording. At 2:17 a.m., they both heard it. Click. The sound came from the closet. Then the door opened by itself. Jules went to shut it and never came back. Mia screamed. The closet was empty. Jules was gone. Just gone. Police were called. No answers. No body. No trace. Only one thing was found. Inside the closet, etched into the back wall with fingernails, one more. Mia boarded the door shut, covered it with a dresser, slept with lights, alarms, cameras. Didn't matter. The knocking started. Knock, knock, knock. On the walls, on the windows, on the ceiling. He didn't need the closet anymore. The last video on Mia's camera was never meant to be found. Police retrieved it from cloud storage weeks after she vanished. It shows her standing in her bedroom, looking directly into the camera. Eyes wide, face pale. Behind her, the closet opens on its own. Blackness pours out like smoke. She doesn't move. She just whispers. He said he needs 3. Then something reaches out. Long arms. No face. Just a gaping black hole where its mouth should be. It pulls her in. The video cuts. No one has lived in apartment 3B since. But at 2:17 a.m., tenants in nearby units say they sometimes hear it. A soft click, followed by the sound of a closet door creaking open.
Story number 6.
The man who lived across the hall was dead. That was the first thing Nina learned on her first night in the new apartment building. Apartment 6C. A tiny but cheap place just big enough for her and her dog, Maple. She'd moved in the same day and was dragging boxes up the stairs when she saw the paramedics wheel out a stretcher covered in a black tarp. Heart attack, said the landlord, a pale man who only spoke in short, nervous bursts. Died in his sleep. You'll hear things. It's just the pipes. Nina hadn't asked. Later that night, as she unpacked, Maple began growling at the front door. Low, uneasy. Nina walked over, expecting a neighbor. Nothing. The hall was empty. Still, Maple wouldn't stop staring at the door. The scratching began the next night. It started around 3 a.m., a faint, rhythmic scratching at the wall near her bed, the one that separated her room from the now vacant 6B apartment, where the man had died. She turned on the light. It stopped. The moment she turned it off, it started again. Scratch, scratch. Nina knocked on the wall once. The scratching knocked back. Not the same spot. Higher. Almost at the ceiling. She didn't sleep that night. The next day, she asked the landlord if someone had moved into 6B. No, he said quickly. It's empty. Needs cleaning. You didn't hear anything. I did, then it was the pipes. But it sounded like he cut her off. It's always the pipes. That night, she left her phone recording while she slept. When she reviewed the footage the next morning, the audio captured more than just scratching. There was whispering. Soft, raspy, over and over again. Let me sleep. You took my room. Let me back in. Nina froze. The whispering wasn't coming from the wall. It was inside her room. Maple wouldn't go near the bedroom after that. He paced. This is Wind. Barked at shadows. One night she woke to him growling at the open bedroom closet. When she looked inside, nothing was there. But the back wall of the closet was different now. Damp and pulsing slightly, like skin. She touched it once, and something tapped back. She called a building inspector, paid him cash to check out 6B. He didn't make it past the doorway, walked in, stood silently for 5 minutes, then turned and walked out, white as paper. You need to lead to leave, he whispered. What's in there? I don't know, he said, but it knows you're in there. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat on the floor with Maple, armed with a flashlight and a kitchen knife, listening to the house breathe around her. At exactly 3:03 a.m., the lights flickered, the walls groaned, and the door to her bedroom slammed shut. From the inside, she ran to it, yanked, pushed. Nothing. Something was holding it. Then she heard Maple whimper behind her. She turned. Standing in the hallway was a figure. Tall, thin, dressed in rotted pajamas, head tilted at a sickening angle, eyes gone, just two black sockets leaking something dark down its cheeks. It raised a hand, pointed at the bedroom, and spoke in a gurgled, wet voice, "You're in my bed." The door creaked open on its own. Nina stepped back, but Maple ran inside and barked at the closet. The closet door burst open. Nothing inside. Then the walls began bleeding. Thick, dark ooze pouring from the corners, pooling on the carpet. Nina screamed. The figure lunged. She grabbed Maple and ran. Down the hall, down the stairs, out into the cold street in bare feet. She never went back. When police checked 6C, they found the bedroom walls covered in scratches from the inside out. Deep gouges. Words etched into plaster. "Still here. Still sleeping." Not done. The closet was empty, except for a single pillow, soaked in blood. And under it, a note. "New tenants must knock before entering."
Story number 7.
It started with a wrong number. Eli was working late, again, at the tiny accounting firm downtown. The office was empty except for him and the hum of his aging desktop fan. It was 11:47 p.m. when his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered, expecting a client in a different time zone, but there was only static. Then a voice whispered, "Don't let it hear you." Click. The line went dead. Eli stared at the phone. The number had no digits. Just... He didn't sleep that night. Over the next few days, the calls continued. Always at night. Always the same voice. Whispering strange things. "It's under the floor. Your name is in its mouth. Don't look at the ceiling." After the third call, Eli unplugged the phone. The next night, it rang anyway. Still unplugged. Still dead. And still, it rang. He answered it with shaking hands. "Stop," he said. "Who is this?" The voice on the other end laughed. Not a normal laugh. This was wet, broken, like lungs full of fluid. "It's already inside." That night, the lights in his apartment began to flicker. His dog, Charlie, a rescue mutt, refused to enter the bedroom, just stood at the threshold, growling low and steady. Eli checked every corner, every vent, every closet, nothing, until he looked under the bed. Something smiled back at him. A mouth full of yellow, glass-like teeth, no eyes, just darkness and a grin that stretched too far across its head. He blinked, and it was gone. The next day, Eli told his coworker, Brenna. She laughed it off. "Sounds like a sleep paralysis demon," she said, sipping coffee. "You been stress dreaming or something?" "Yeah," Eli muttered, "something like that." That night, she called him. She was screaming. "He's in my mirror," she sobbed. "Eli, he said you brought him with you." The line went dead. Eli drove to her apartment. The front door was ajar. Inside, silence. Except from the bathroom. Drip, drip, drip. He stepped inside. The mirror was shattered. Brenna's body lay in the tub, fully clothed, eyes wide open. Her phone still clutched in one hand. Her fingernails were torn off, all of them, as if she'd tried to claw her own eyes out. On the wall, written in blood, one word, one breath, one door. Police ruled it a suicide. Eli didn't argue. He just stopped going outside, boarded up the windows, burned the phone, blocked the vents. Still, the whispers came through the walls, through the static on his laptop speakers, through the drain. One breath, one door, one of you. He heard tapping under the floorboards, something crawling just beneath the surface. He took a sledgehammer to the floor, ripped up the wood, found concrete beneath, and a door, an actual door, rusted, hinges like veins, no handle, no lock, just waiting. He ran. He tried checking into a motel 2 towns over. He didn't give his name, paid in cash. Middle of the night, knock at the door. A little girl stood there. She looked normal, except her pupils were completely gone. White eyes, black tears. She smiled, held out a phone. It rang. Eli didn't want to answer, but his body moved anyway. He put the phone to his ear. The voice was no longer whispering. It was inside his head now. "You open the floor. Now open the door." He dropped the phone, looked up. The girl was gone. Just a trail of ash where she'd stood. Eli returned home. He had to end it. He walked back into the apartment. The boards were already off. The floor was already open. The door was already ajar. A low, rattling breath exhaled from the darkness. Eli stepped down. 1 step, 2 steps, 3, and then Nothing, just black and the sound of teeth. They found the apartment empty 2 weeks later. The landlord swore Eli had never moved in. His name wasn't on the lease. Neighbors said the place had been vacant since the last tenant died 5 years ago. Brenna's body was never found. The only clue? A voicemail on her old phone recovered from police evidence. Date, 2 days after she died. It was from Eli. Only 2 seconds long. Heavy breathing. Then the sound of a door slamming shut.
Story number 8.
The first night it whispered, Henry thought it was the wind. He just moved into a crooked little house at the edge of a dying town, one of those places where the streetlights flicker for no reason and no one smiles for too long. The house was cheap, secluded, and miles from anyone else. Perfect for writing his novel in peace. He didn't ask why it was so cheap. He didn't ask why the landlord kept staring at the attic door. The attic had been bolted shut. 8 rusted nails across the frame, all hammered in crooked. Henry didn't care. He wasn't using it. Until he heard the whispering. It started around 2 a.m., faint and wet, like someone talking through a mouthful of water. The words slithered through the vents and swirled around his ears as he lay in bed. He couldn't make them out. Not exactly. Only 3 were clear. Out! He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, Henry checked the attic door, still sealed, still silent. He told himself it was just stress. Maybe mice, old pipes, the wind. That night, it whispered again. Closer this time. Pull them. Pull the nails. He covered the vent with duct tape. Didn't help. He tried earplugs. The voice got louder. On the 3rd night, the voice knew his name. Henry, pull them out. Let me out. He stared at the ceiling, heart pounding. Then something scraped across the attic floor above him, long, slow, like claws dragging through dust. He moved his bed to the living room. He started drinking, sleeping with the lights on, leaving the radio on just to drown out the voice. But the radio stopped working. The lights dimmed every night at 1:59 a.m. And at 2, you brought me here. You started this. Now let me finish. That night, something knocked from inside the attic. Not once, not twice, 7 times. Like it knew how many nails were left. Henry decided to leave. He packed his car, threw his unfinished manuscript in the back, grabbed his keys, and froze. Every nail in the attic door had been pulled out, laid in a neat line on the hallway floor. The door now hung slightly ajar. A foul stench drifted down the stairs, wet earth, old blood, and something sweet like rotting fruit. Henry didn't go near it, just ran. But the car wouldn't start. The engine was full of teeth, human teeth, no blood, just molars, canines, incisors, hundreds of them. He walked back into the house not knowing why, and the attic door was wide open. He found his manuscript in the hallway, only it wasn't his anymore. Every page rewritten in a jagged, inhuman scrawl. Every word, I am, over and over until the pages bled ink. That night, Henry walked into the attic. No one saw him again. But sometimes, when the wind blows through that crooked little house, people say they hear typing. And if you get too close to the house after midnight, you might hear a voice from above whisper, pull them out, just 7. Let me write again. Let me wear your name. A year later, a new tenant moved in, a woman named Claire. A writer. The landlord smiled too long as he handed her the key. Don't worry about the attic, he said. It's just full of old books. Claire never asked why the floor creaked above her at 2 a.m., even though no one was up there. She never asked why she dreamed of teeth. But she did start hearing whispers. And the attic? The attic door was sealed, with 8 nails this time, just like before.
Story number 9.
It was supposed to be a quick job. 2 weeks tops, easy paycheck, and some peace and quiet away from the city. Claire, a professional house sitter, had done this a dozen times. Rich families, big empty homes. Feed the dog, water the plants, don't snoop. Simple. But this house, this one felt wrong the moment she stepped inside. It wasn't the dust or the old wallpaper that curled like skin from the walls. It wasn't the air, heavy and stale like a mouth that hadn't opened in years. It was the mirrors. There were dozens. Every room had at least 2. Different shapes, different frames, round, oval, square. Some were cloudy. Others were so polished she could see every pore on her face. The owner, Mr. Hallstrom, had only one instruction. Cover the mirrors at night. Claire thought it was weird, but she agreed. Money was money. The first night, she walked from room to room, draping the provided black cloths over each mirror. There were hooks beside every one, like this had been routine for years. She fell asleep on the couch around midnight. At 3:09 a.m., she woke to the sound of whispering. Soft, repetitive. She checked her phone. No messages. Walked through the house. Every cloth still in place, except one. The hallway mirror, tall and cracked at the edges, was uncovered, and in the reflection, she wasn't alone. There was a man standing behind her. Thin, pale, wearing a suit soaked in dark, dripping stains. His mouth was stretched unnaturally wide, and it was moving, but no sound came out. She spun around. Nothing there. She looked back. The mirror was now covered again. The next day, she told herself it was a dream. Lack of sleep, brain playing tricks. But that night, the same thing happened. 3:09 a.m. Whispers. The mirror in the dining room was uncovered, and this time, the man was closer. Right behind her, mouth still moving, still silent. She didn't sleep after that. On the third night, Claire called Mr. Hallstrom. He didn't answer. His voicemail clicked on with a strange static, like it had been recorded underwater. She looked around at the mirrors. Her own face looked tired, hollow-eyed. But then her reflection smiled, and she didn't. She staggered back. The reflection kept smiling. Its lips moved. Claire pressed her ear to the glass, and she heard her own voice whisper back, "It's warmer on this side." She tried to leave, grabbed her bags, slammed the front door, but the street was gone. There was no driveway, no mailbox, no sky, only fog in every direction. And in it, shadows moved, watching her, smiling. She ran back inside and screamed when she saw the living room. Every mirror was now uncovered, and every reflection was watching her. Not copying her, watching. Each version of her twisted slightly, smiling, crying, bleeding, screaming, but none were the same, and in each, the man in the suit stood closer. That night, Claire took down one mirror. She shattered it with a fireplace poker. Glass rained down, but behind it wasn't a wall. It was another room. A dark, endless hallway lined with mirrors on both sides, and in them, hundreds of hers, all pressed to the glass, all mouthing words she couldn't hear, until one whispered loud enough to breach the veil, "Don't blink." She did, and when her eyes opened, she was inside. Now, Claire lives in the mirrors. She watches people who walk by, screams soundlessly, reaches out, but no one can hear. And the man in the suit? He moves from glass to glass, collecting people who look too long. Listen too hard. You've probably seen him. A flicker in the corner of your eye. That almost familiar reflection that doesn't move when you do. And when the clocks read 3:09 a.m., you'll hear it too. The whisper from the glass, "Cover the mirrors or join us inside."
Story number 10.
Crows never stopped circling the old farmhouse. Even in the dead of night, they perched on the rusted windmill or lined the crooked fence, silent and still, like sentries guarding something no one wanted to find. Theo inherited the house from a great-uncle he never met. The will arrived out of nowhere, all formal and cold. "Congratulations, you are now the sole heir to 221 Hollow Bend Road." He wasn't close to family, barely had any left. But a free house was a free house. He should have burned it down the moment he stepped inside. The first thing he noticed was the silence, the kind that presses on your chest, that makes your ears ring. Even his phone had no signal, not a single bar. But what truly made his skin crawl were the chairs. Dozens of them, all facing the same direction, all arranged in a perfect circle in the middle of the living room. Each one was different. Rocking chairs, high backs, broken stools, none matched. It looked like they'd been dragged from different time periods. At the center of the circle, a wooden crate with a faded velvet cloth draped over it. Something sat underneath, box-shaped and quiet. Theo reached out to pull it off. The room groaned. He stopped, backed away. He slept upstairs that night around 3 a.m. A loud thump echoed through the house. Then another, like chairs being dragged slowly across wood. He grabbed the flashlight and went downstairs. All the chairs had moved. They were now pointed toward the stairs. And the velvet cloth? Gone. In its place sat an old reel-to-reel tape recorder, the kind used in the 60s. It clicked on by itself. Static hissed for a few seconds, then a voice crackled through. "Don't look at her eyes." Click. Silence. Theo didn't sleep the rest of the night. By morning, he wanted to leave, but his keys were missing. So were his shoes. The front door wouldn't budge. Even the windows were sealed tight, like they'd fused with the frame. He was trapped. The crows cawed for the first time all morning, long, harsh cries that echoed like warning bells. He turned around and froze. There was now a 13th chair. It hadn't been there before. This one was red, worn, rocking slightly on its own, and it faced him. The next few days were a blur. The tape recorder kept playing by itself. Each night it offered new instructions. Do not touch the window glass. Cover the mirrors. She hates being watched. Theo tried to follow the rules, tried not to scream when he saw the figure in the hallway mirror, a tall woman with a torn burlap sack over her head, stitched at the eyes. Her hands were always wet, dripping onto the floor. He boarded up the mirror. That night he woke up with wet footprints around his bed. He lost track of time. Days melted. Rooms shifted. He swore the house grew bigger. Staircases led to different places each time. Some ended in dead ends. Others led to more chairs. One night he opened the closet in the upstairs hallway. Inside, a forest. Dense, foggy, branches with no leaves. And in the distance, sobbing. He closed the door and pushed a dresser in front of it. It kept sobbing for hours. The final tape came on the 7th night. The recorder wheezed, whirred, then played. She's ready now. Sit in the red chair. Theo refused. He smashed the recorder, ran to the door, pounded, screamed. The crows screeched outside in unison. When he turned back around, every chair was now occupied. Mouthless people, hollow-eyed, skin gray and waxy, some missing limbs, some twitching, all staring, all waiting. The red chair sat empty at the center. He ran, but the stairs led to a room he'd never seen before. Cold, round, wooden, with only one chair, the red one. He doesn't remember sitting, but once he did, the woman appeared, standing directly behind him. He couldn't turn his head, couldn't blink, could only stare at the recorder across from him as it clicked on and recorded. Welcome. The next one will arrive soon. Theo's car was found weeks later, parked outside the farmhouse. The engine's still warm, but no one ever found him. Real estate agents won't go inside. The few who tried said the doors don't open anymore. The house just waits. Crows still circle the roof. And sometimes at night, if you press your ear to the wood, you'll hear the tape, and a voice whispering, "She hates me, loves an audience. The red chair is yours now."